The story begins with our protagonist, Kenji Yang, who is a kind person. He always helps people in need. When he was going to school like any other day, he heard some bullies bullying a student who was in his class. The bullies called Kenji and told him that the guy they were bullying didn't have a mother. He only had one picture of her which they were going to tear into pieces because he didn't have money to pay them. If Kenji didn't buy those pictures for him, they were going to tear it for real. Kenji was furious and tried to talk things out, but they only listened to him when he gave them $100. They make it look like they weren't doing anything bad. They were being fair. The kid who was being bullied thanks him and calls him kind, which makes him very happy. Then the kid asks Kenji why he was trying to be so kind. Kenji told him that he needed to do it to this extent because he had a reason. When he arrives at the school, everyone greets him cheerfully. He is happy to see a girl named Sujin who greets him as well and asks for his help in throwing the trash bags. She praised him for helping out their classmates and told him how everyone in the class was talking about this. He was glad to hear her say that about him. Just then, we see the bullies who were playing games with the money that he extorted from him. Shin Jong, the thug from earlier, calls Sujin. Sujin hesitantly greets him. She looks troubled, which makes Kenji think that they are bullying her. The bully calls for her again and tells Kenji to get lost. Sujin assured him that she would be alright and told him to go on ahead. Kenji was confused as to what he should do. He wonders if he should call his uncle if the situation escalates. After he was gone, the rest of the thugs also went to their class, leaving those two alone. Sujin wants him not to make it obvious when they are inside the school. We came to know that these two were secretly dating. While they were flirting, we see that Kenji was still there, hiding from them. He was fuming with anger and felt betrayed. When he came back to his class, his eyes were dead from what he had seen. He messages Sujin to meet him after school as he has something to talk to her about. When school ended, they both were going to go home together like they used to before. Kenji finally mustered up the courage to ask her if she was really dating Shin Jong. She was put on the spot and got nervous a little, but she doesn't deny it. She says that they just started dating somehow and that she was about to tell him. Ken was speechless. He didn't know what to say. We see a flashback where Sujin's drunk dad was looking for her after she ran away. He used to beat her after getting drunk. We see Kenji and Sujin hiding together. This is when she told him that she was never going to marry someone like his father. She was going to marry someone who was kind, like Kenji. This is when Kenji decides to become a really kind person for her. End of the flashback. Now in the present, Kenji confronts her about what she had said in the past, how she wanted to date someone who was kind, and Shin Jaehyun was far from being kind. He was a bully, to which she replies that she dated a kind and friendly person once, but he was just too boring and nice all the time. A bad guy, on the other hand, they are rough, attractive, and way cooler. Kenji was stunned. All these years, his efforts to be kind to her were for nothing. She didn't care about nice guys now. She was into bad boys. In the moment of desperation, he grabs her hand and starts saying stuff like he was way meaner than Shin Jaehyun. He was acting to be a kind person all this time. He was not just a bully. He was a gangster. A gangster's blood runs through his veins. He was saying all this while crying continuously, but she just laughs at him and calls him a kind person who was worried about her because she was dating a bully. Kenji tries to convince himself it is alright for her to date a bully. On the way to their home, Shin Jaehyun takes Sujin with her and wants Kenji not to hang out with her anymore. Sujin stops him from picking on Kenji and takes him with her while flirting in front of him. Kenji couldn't take it anymore. He had spent the last 10 years of his life trying to act kind even when it was hard. And all of that was for nothing, so he decided to become a bad person himself. When he was saying a gangster's blood runs through his veins, he wasn't lying. When he enters his home, all gang members are bowing before him. His household was a gangster household, and he was going to show her what a really bad person looks like. He asked about where his uncle was and came bursting through the door and asked him to help him become a bad person. His uncle didn't know what happened to him all of a sudden, but he wanted to see this look on his face for a long time. He had worked hard for the past 10 years to become kind, so his uncle warned him that it would only take an instant to become a bad guy. But Kenji was ready to abandon all the work that he put in for the past 10 years. The first thing his uncle told him to get rid of was his good and nice boy vibes. He needed to change his dressing sense as well, and he was also prohibited from smiling nicely. He needed to put on a serious face all the time. His uncle asked him why he wanted to become a bad person all of a sudden, to which he replies that he has no reason to be kind anymore while thinking about Sujin and Shin Jaehyun. Even though he asked for their help, he still wasn't sure if could become a bad person like them. His uncle number 2 comes to his room to dress him up for the occasion. Kenji comes out wearing gold chains and all, just like a thug or gangster. He was hesitant if he could really wear this in school, but his uncles assured him that he looked great. When he was walking down the school hallway, everyone was staring at him. He wanted to greet them badly, but his uncle prohibited him from doing that. When a girl greets him, he tries to be rude to her but starts stuttering. When he enters the class, his friends greet him and he tries to be rude to them too, but he stutters again. Everyone was wondering what was wrong with him today and why he dressed like that. Sujin sees him and asks him to go to the cafeteria with her. He couldn't say no to her and agreed to go in a rude way. Everyone in the class thought they had a fight. Kenji was giving her the cold shoulder on their way. She asks him why he was giving her a cold shoulder and that he was acting like a different person. Kenji doesn't deny it, but he tells her that she was the one who changed first. After that, he told her to head to the cafeteria by herself. 10 years ago, he changed himself because of her, and now he was changing himself again because of her. This was the first time Kenji was skipping class. Behind the school building, he sees Shinjong and a bunch of other guys skipping classes and smoking. Shinjong goes to eat something outside with a girl. Kenji wanted to learn what guys like them do when they skip school, so he follows them. He sees both of them being chummy with each other and wonders if he is dating this girl too. He couldn't take it that Shin was taking Sujin for granted. He was furious. They arrive at Shin's house. The girl just wanted to go to a ramen shop, so she refused to go inside. When he starts forcing her to come inside, she slaps him, which makes him angry. He was about to slap her as well. Kenji was not sure if he should call the cops on him. He decides to take matters into his own hands and throws a rock at him, but it hits the girl instead. He had messed up big time, but he was not giving up just yet. He throws another rock at him, but his ring gets thrown away as well. This time the rock hits Shin straight to the forehead. While Shin was figuring out what was going on, Kenji took her hands and ran away, while Shin screamed at him to kill him. The girl also yells at him for hitting her in the head, but she understands that he is trying to help her and goes along with him. Even though he did manage to pull that off on impulse, he didn't know what to do next. He stitches her up and explains the situation, but she already knows and jokes about it. She introduces herself as Yeji. She was in the same class as he was, but she didn't recognize him. When he introduced himself as Kenji, she was shocked. He had heard about him that he was kind to everyone and experienced it firsthand. But Ken keeps telling her that he is not kind, he is mean. He only helped her because she was in a serious situation. He asked her if she likes bad guys like Shinjong too. She told him that she liked guys who were free-spirited but not someone like Shin. Kenji wonders if he would be able to become a trash like him as well. While she was laughing at him, Shin called him. Kenji asked her not to mention his name. Shin was pissed and asked him about the guy who helped her because he was wearing the same dress as their school. But she also threatens to go to the police if he ever talks to her like that and hangs up the phone. She didn't want the police to get involved herself because she was the one who hit him first. She thanks Kenji and leaves. During lunch, his friends asked him why he looks like Shin Jaeyoung. This makes him happy because he is trying to look like him. His friends freak out after hearing that. Just then, Yeji comes there to eat lunch with him. She told his friend that he helped him but Kenji left first because he didn't want anyone to know about that incident. Yeji goes with him too. His friends were happy for him on the outside but inside, they were super envious. Sujin also sees both of them working together. The teachers had asked for Kenji because he skipped a class. He didn't want to make them angry and started taking off the gold chains and all the accessories. He realizes that his ring is gone. That ring was given to him by his second uncle who had got it from the boss himself. It was very precious to him. Kenji was panicking when he lost the ring. While he was looking for the ring in his class, Shin Jaeyoung came there and kicked him for blocking his way. Shin noticed that his back looked similar to the guy who threw that stone at him. He starts stomping on him and takes his anger out on him while Sujin is just standing there and watching him get beaten up. Just then, Yeji comes there and stops him saying she was the one he should be angry at. He asks her again who was the guy who helped her but she didn't answer him. As he was about to hit her, Yeji started thinking who was he afraid of other than the teachers. She told him that the guy's name was Song Jin-suk. We see Song Jong who was a muscular guy and was sleeping in the class. Shin was scared of waking him up but he couldn't just leave it be. So he tries to wake him up and when he doesn't wake up, he kicks his desk, shocking everyone in the class. Yeji thought he would leave him alone because he was scared of him but her plan was now busted. Song Jin was annoyed by him. Shin asks him if he was the one who helped Yeji that day. Song Jin sees Yeji and Kenji and says that he might have helped her. Shin gets angry, grabs Song by the collar and threatens to finish him. Song just grabs his hands, making Shin come to his senses and realize who he was messing with. He looks at Yeji in the class for staring at him. While leaving the class, He takes a closer look at Kenji, saying the guy looked about his size though. But there was no way a loser like him could attack him, and he left after that. Kenji noticed the ring that he was wearing, which belonged to his uncle. Yaji immediately comes forward to help Kenji, while Sujin is jealous and angry seeing Yaji being friendly with him. Yaji asks Songjin for help, but Ken leaves after saying he is alright. While coming back home, he wonders how he should explain this to his uncle. When he enters the house, everyone is baffled and furious seeing his brushed face. They were preparing to on war with whoever did this to him. His second uncle also sees the commotion, and when he is filled with what is going on, he is ready to fight. But the first uncle stops them, saying he needs to fight on his own. They have a strategy meeting to make him strong and good at fighting. But before that, he needed to score one victory on his own. His uncle suggests he beat someone weaker than him in a fight. After that, they would start his training. The next day, everyone wishes him luck. He was already panicking over how he should get back the ring from Shin, and now he also had to fight someone. Just then, sees the grandma whom he used to help. But he remembers what his uncle told him and runs away while crying. Coincidentally, he meets the grandpa he used to help as well, and again he runs while crying. Then he sees a few thug school students who crossed the road while the traffic was on. He also wants to do that, but when he tries, he gets scolded by a truck driver, making him apologize to him instinctively. He waits for the next round and runs as fast as he can. This time, he managed to cross the road while the traffic was on. On the way, he sees Sujin and is about to greet her when he sees Shinjong with him. He hides from them and sees that she looks happy with him. So he decides to work even harder to become a bad person. He sees Yaji and a few other girls extorting money from the same guy who was being bullied the last time. Another girl told Kanji scram, and the kid thought he was saved now that he was here. Yaji starts doing her makeup after seeing Kanji. Instead of helping him, Ken orders him to give all the money he had to him or he would beat the shit out of him. His second uncle was watching all this and got emotional seeing their young master grow. It was like seeing his younger self. The girls were impressed by Kanji, saying he looked like a real man, but Yaji was not happy with this. The guy gives him the money thinking he was just faking it and would give him back after taking it from him. Ken splits the money and gives it to the girls. The girls say that he is on the same level as Shinjong, which makes him happy, but Yaji is not impressed by this. While his uncle was going back, he bumped into Shinjong and saw the ring on his fingers. He is confused and shocked to see his ring and wonders if he is Kanji's friend. Shin keeps getting on his nerves, but he didn't fight him. He was praying that this guy wouldn't be his young master's friend so that he could beat the hell out of him. At the school, the chief teacher calls Kanji to the office. He told him to bring his father the next day because he was becoming a problem child. But Kang immediately denies it because he knows it wouldn't be a good idea to bring his father there. The other teachers were surprised to see Kanji talking back. Kanji made an excuse saying his father was out of town and asked him to let him bring his uncle instead. Kanji's friend was worried about him and followed him to the office. He freaked out when he heard that they wanted him to bring his parents, but he was surprised to see him calm. At the house, he told his uncles that the teacher was asking to meet one of them. Every one of them wanted to be the one to go with him, so they decided to solve this with rock paper scissors, and the winner was the second uncle. He mucks the first uncle but gets smacked instead. The next day, the second uncle was ready to go to school with him in his very normal and formal dress. Kanji was speechless after seeing his second uncle's drip and just asked him to hurry up. On the way, people suddenly start to greet the second uncle, making Kong wonder how could he be so respected with that outfit and non-threatening face. The second uncle asked him if he was doing any bad things. The uncle then taught him how to spit like a gangster. He even showed him how to work like a man and ordered him to work like that until they arrived at the school. Kanji was embarrassed and wished that the first uncle was here with him. He wished that he hadn't run into Sujin. The students recognize Kanji, but they wonder why he was with a gangster. When they arrive at the school, the second uncle asked him if he still has the soul ring that he had given to him. Kanji gets nervous and lies to him, saying he put it in his room to keep it safe. In the hallway, Yaji sees him with his uncle and is confused as to why he is doing this. Kanji hides his face from her. Kanji showed him the teacher's office and told him that he had to get to his class, but he wonders if he is going to be okay. When he arrived in the teacher's office, the teachers couldn't believe that he was Kanji's uncle. They even consider calling the cops on him, but the head teacher assured them that he would take care of him. The junior teachers were impressed by him. The head teacher took him to the consultant room to talk to him privately, while the other teacher admired his bravery. But as soon as he got along with him, the head teacher started sucking up to him, praising how they treasure Kanji the most. He even poured him some tea to please him. The teacher asked him why he called him here. It was because Kanji was misbehaving lately, even though he was the next candidate for the school president. The second uncle asked him if he is calling Kanji the problem child with a slight smile on his face. The head teacher thought he was mad and took it back, which made him mad for real this time. The second uncle was happy that Kanji was being a problem child. The head teacher was confused, but he knew that they needed to be on the same frequency if he wanted to live. Even though he didn't know why, he just felt like he should say that he was a very problematic child. The second uncle was glad to hear that. Then the second uncle asked the head teacher if there were students who were extorting valuables from other students. The head teacher freaked out and denied that allegation. The second uncle left in anger after that. The head teacher was finally relieved that he left. The second uncle thought about the bully who stole his soul ring and wondered if could meet him. He was fuming with anger. Although he wanted to find that guy and kill him, but he remembered what the first uncle had told him about letting Kanji fight his own battle. Jong Cheol got lucky this time. On the other hand, Jong Cheol was staring at the ring and was planning to sell it and buy a motorbike with that money. He was thankful that he got hit by that rock. In the class, Kanji was worried about the meeting. He asked his friend if he thought that the meeting went well. His reaction said it all. Just then, the head teacher entered the class and avoided eye contact with Kanji. Kanji wondered if his uncle threatened the teacher. He was going to ask his uncle directly. Kanji interrupts the class, asking him for permission to go to the bathroom. The teacher got angry, but when he saw that it was Kanji, his demeanor completely changed and he permitted him to go. This made him sure that something must have happened between them. He called the first uncle, but he was busy doing something important. They were throwing a surprise party for Kanji for being a problem child. The third uncle handed him the phone. When Kang asked what he talked to the teacher, he says that he took care of it, which made Kanji even more anxious. Before he could ask him more, the first uncle took the phone and reminded him of the mission that he had to carry out that day: to beat up someone weaker than him. After he hung up, Kang started his search for someone weaker than him. He put himself on a level 1 scale to compare his strength to the other students. He saw 2 students coming toward him and wondered if he could beat him, but they were slightly stronger than him. He kept looking for someone weaker than him, but he couldn't seem to find someone. Even his friends were stronger than him. He got tired of searching, but he couldn't find anyone weaker than him. He was pondering his head in the bathroom when the big guy Sungjin asked him to move out of the way as he was blocking the sink. We see that Sungjin was on level 70, a number he could only hope to achieve. He says to himself how someone like him should have been the son of the Firebear gang's boss. When he thought there was no one weaker than him, the guy whom he used to save from bullies and the guy from whom he extorted money today was there. He was asking for the $40 that he pretended to extort from him. Kanji lit up seeing him. The guy was on level 0. While the guy was complimenting how real his acting looked this morning, Kanji grabbed him by the collar and asked him to become the sacrificial lamb for his first victory. Kanji apologized to him before attacking Sangu. While Sangu was confused about what he did wrong, he asked Songyung for help. Kanji didn't realize he was still there and thought he was done for. But instead of helping him, Sangyung just left without saying anything. This was Kanji's chance. All he needed to do was to just hit him once. He even closes his eyes to do that. But even then he can't do it and lets go of him. Sango ran after getting released while cussing him. He couldn't bring himself to hurt him. He wondered if he was mean and if he had finally become a bad person. But it didn't feel as great as he had hoped. All this time he put in being a kind person was going to disappear just like that. He remembers the times when he saved the guy. Even though he just grabbed him by the collar, he felt horrible. But he was determined to be a mean person for Sangu. The only reason he was living as a kind person was for Sangu. But now he had no reason to do that. When he got to the class, everyone was looking at him as Sangu had told the whole class about the incident. Sujin didn't believe it and asked Kanji if what he was saying was true. Even the other classmates didn't believe he could do something like that. When Sujin kept asking him, Kanji asked him to just stop. He pointed out how she used to hate people who put on makeup and did not dress properly. But now look at her. But Kanji wasn't criticizing her. Instead, he gave her a compliment that she looked good. But unfortunately for him, Shin Jeoncheol heard him giving her compliments and thought he was flirting with him, even though he had ordered him the last time to be away from her. Kanji tried to explain the situation, but Shin slapped him and asked the other to grab him. He needed to teach him a lesson. Shin started beating him. He punched him in the stomach. But as he was going to hit him again with his dominant hand, Sujin asked him to stop. Seeing them covering for each other, Shin figured that something was going on between them just like he had thought. He left Kanji alone for a moment and was about to beat her up first. But Kanji screamed at him to stop while calling him human trash. He was okay with him dating her, even beating him in front of her. but he was not going to let him beat her. Kanji threatened to kill him if he even touched her. Even Song Joon, who was sleeping, woke up from his scream. Sujin had never heard him say those words before and was surprised. Shin Jong makes fun of him, pointing out what kind of situation he was in. Kanji again thinks about the past and how Sujin changed to date someone like him. But he was going to beat his boyfriend to become the bad guy that she liked. Kanji was expecting to get him, but he tried to hit him first with his leg. Before Shin could hit him, he got hit in the face instead. But it wasn't Kanji who hit him. It was Sung Ju. Everyone was baffled to see Sung Ju getting involved. Shin screamed at him saying he had gotten insane. But Song Ju didn't stop and gave him another punch. Meanwhile, his friend didn't even try to get involved as they had no intention of dying. Shin asked him again why he was butting in and why he always messes with him. Sung Ju told him that he was the only one who messed around all the time before hitting him with another punch. But this time he hit him with his dominant left hand. Shin was down after this hit. The others left Kanji and took Shin with them. Song Ju offered him a hand and took him to the nurse's office. But Kanji was worried that his shoulder might fall off first though from his heavy hands. On the other hand, Shin and his two lackeys were making plans to get back at Sung Ju. But even if all three of them were to attack him, they would still lose. He wasn't even using his full strength. He just punched him with his shoulder strength while sitting. The two lackeys were afraid to get back at him, but Shin had plans for him. If he couldn't beat him himself, he just had to tap into his connections. Sung Ju took Kanji to the nurse's office. And as he was leaving, Kanji asked him why he didn't stop him when he was about to hit Sung Ju in the bathroom. To which Song Ju replied that he must have a reason because he wasn't the kind of guy to do something like that without any reason. Kanji felt bad as he was actually about to hit him without any reason. Then Kanji asks him why he always saves him from Shin Jong. Song Jong doesn't give a clear answer and just says that the guy deserves to get hit and that Kanji just happens to be saved in the process. He leaves after that without answering any more of his questions. In the cafeteria, Yeji was trying to befriend Kanji's friends, but the smart one of the two easily figured out that she was just trying to be friends with Kanji. The other friend told her that he didn't want to be friends with a Billy like her. Yeji gives him a dry apology. Yeji tries to butter them up by asking if they have girlfriends. The dumb friends deduced that Yeji was trying to be his girlfriend. He immediately told her that he didn't like a bully like her. But he was okay if it was Yeji. Both of them had no idea what he was blabbering about. He kept talking nonsense which started to piss off Yeji. She asked them for the last time if they knew what was Kanji's type. The dumb friend suggested she should ask Sujin, who had been friends with him for the longest time. The smart one thinks to himself how stupid he is. She came to them because she didn't want to ask her. She decided to ask him directly. After she was gone, the dumb friend asked the other friend if Yeji was into him. On the way, two of her friends told her that Kanji was in the nurse's office after getting beaten up. She ran to the nurse's office after hearing this. Her friends were worried that she might be into losers. Yeji was feeling anxious and was concerned about him not knowing why. She rushes to the nurse's office while stumbling upon things. We see that Kanji was trying to hold his voice while crying. When he heard the door opening, he thought it was the doctor and that she might see him crying. So he pretends to be asleep. She asked him about his condition while being angry at Jin Jong. She didn't disturb him while he slept and left the food there. She left the room in anger and determined to teach Jin Jong a lesson. After she is gone, Kanji wonders why she brought food for him. Just then, he heard someone else on the door, so he pretended to sleep again. It was Sujin on the door. He didn't want her to see his crying face, so he kept on his act. Sujin saw the food that Yeji left for him. She picked it up and threw it in the dustbin while exclaiming how Yeji was being annoying and that Kanji didn't like girls like her. She was about to put her hand on his head, which made Kanji flustered. But before that, Song Young came there with the doctor. The doctor asks her if she knows how he got hurt. Both Song Young and Kanji were waiting for her response. She made an excuse to save his boyfriend by saying that he fell down the stairs. Kanji was holding back his tears while Song Young was just disappointed in her. The doctor just thought that he must have fallen down the stairs while helping someone like always. She also says how lucky Kanji was to have a friend like her. After she left, the doctor noticed that Kanji was up. He was crying while holding his voice. The doctor thought he was enduring the pain so that Sujin didn't get worried. He asked her to just give him a moment. She assured him to cry as much as he wanted. She was not going to let anyone come in. Kanji cried his heart out after hearing her lie to save his boyfriend over him, her childhood friend. Meanwhile, Shin was asking his lackey to sell his ring in the market. Just then, Yeji comes there yelling at him. The other two leave the two of them alone. She lashes out at him for beating up Kanji. He pointed out that he was the victim today. But she didn't believe that he could be the victim. She was disgusted with herself for liking him at one point. Shin blames her for falling for him as he didn't approach her. She did. Meanwhile, Sujin couldn't get in touch with Shin, so she came looking for him. When she finds out Shin is with Yeji, Shin threatened to beat even her if she kept coming closer to him. She blamed her for liking him even though she exactly knew who she was. Sujin was shocked to hear Yeji lie to him. Shin further goes on to ask her out even after all that. Sujin couldn't believe her eyes and started crying. Yeji obviously denied him and threatened to report him to the police. Meanwhile, Sujin was trying to convince herself that Shin was doing that because she kept hitting on him persistently. He was doing that to get rid of her and that he might be a bad guy, but he would never do that to her. Sujin came out asking them to stop crying. Yeji was surprised to see her there. Shin was fed up with these ladies making a fuss and was annoyed at her. Sujin asked him if he was really dating Yeji. Shin told her that he wasn't and that he was going to break up with her too. Sujin couldn't believe what he was saying. It was like her whole came crashing down. Yeji was surprised that these two were dating. Shin has had enough, so he left without saying anything. Yeji asked her if she is really dating Shin and if she is okay. But she was too shocked to say anything at the time. Kenji left the nurse's office without any treatment. He was also trying to convince himself that she would have done the same thing for him if he were her boyfriend and that it was his fault for not being her boyfriend. To do that, he needed to become a bad guy by beating someone up. But he didn't want to beat someone weaker than him. But there was one person he was fine with beating him, Shin Jong. When he got back home, he noticed that it was unusually quiet. When he goes further inside, he sees all his ankles leaning on their heads. When he was wondering what was going on, he heard a familiar voice. It was his father's voice, who was slightly impressed that he was home even though he should be at school, and he was even dressed differently. Kenji was shocked to see his father all of a sudden after all this time. He asked him why he was there. His father ordered him to sit first. Kenji instinctively sits down. He was here after 3 years because he had heard about him being a problem child. Further then did Kenji notice the poster behind him, celebrating him being a problem child. But the father was disappointed to hear that he was the type of problem child who gets beaten up instead of conquering the school and any turfs. That's the reason all the ankles were in that state as a punishment. He states that he didn't give him 10 years to celebrate his getting beaten up. He ordered the first uncle to begin his successor's training starting tomorrow. Kenji tried to reason with him, but his father reminded him how he gave him time because he wanted to be kind to a girl. But all this time, he was just getting beaten up. He also states that he would not force him if he rejects the training. But in return, he'd also not see his face for the rest of his life, meaning that they would no longer be father and son. He had no use for a pathetic and weak son like him, he said. Kenji burst into tears while telling him how hard the last 10 years were for him as well. He didn't choose to be born as the son of a gangster and he wanted to live his own life. The boss told him that he was not going to wait forever for him to succeed him. He had already expected him to reject the successor's training and had a different plan in mind. He was going to cut all ties with him and told Kenji that there were a lot of people around the world who could be called his son. But he was hoping Kenji to be his successor. Kenji asked for some time to think about it, but he had already given him 10 years. He couldn't wait any longer. He had until tomorrow to give his answer. If he didn't accept the training, their relationship would be over. Kenji was devastated, calling him the worst father ever. His uncles were worried. They didn't expect the boss to come all of a sudden. Not only that, but if Kenji was no longer boss's son, their faction would also be discarded. The first uncle goes to talk to Kenji. He asked him how he was and he freely got beaten up again. He asked him if he at least beat one weak guy, but he told him that he couldn't do it. The first uncle suggests why he doesn't get stronger and then he could beat any bad guy he wanted and asked him to accept the successor's training to get stronger. But Kenji says he still wasn't ready for it. The first uncle told him that he needed to grow stronger if he wanted to protect the things he cared about. He left after that. While Kenji was pondering his head over what he needed to save, he got a call from Sujin. She told him how she was having a hard time while crying. Kenji asked her for details of what happened. He is furious at Shinjong for making her cry. He goes to his uncle and announces that he has made up his mind. He was going to accept the successor's training. To beat the bad guys, he was going to become the worst person. He requested his uncles to help him get stronger. They assured him and asked him to leave it to them. They'd been waiting for this moment for 10 years. The first uncle informed him that he couldn't go to school during the training. Kenji agreed to that as well. This time he was committed to learning how to fight. The first uncle left him in his second uncle's care as he used to be an athlete himself. It was an emotional moment for the uncles. The second uncle asked him about the ring he had given to him again. He asked him to tell the truth this time. Kenji didn't lie this time and told him that he lost the ring to the guy he wanted to beat up. The second uncle told him that if he wanted, he could take it back from the guy in a few seconds. Although that would be the easiest way to get it done, but Kenji wanted to get it back on his own after beating him. This is the answer that the second uncle was hoping he'd give. He hugged him and ordered him to change into the battle suit for their training. Kenji understood the assignment. Since he has decided to accept the successor's training, there was no turning back now. From this moment forward, he was no longer Kenji who was a normal student. He was not the Fire-Be Gang's successor, Kenji. Well guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, comment part 2 in the comments section. Also subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell and like the video. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.